There's a cheerleading competition going on, too.
I really hope that went over the air. Sam is talking about cheerleading. We are talking about a concert that's next door to our studio, or at least about to be. That there's all sorts of activity
Sounds
outside.
like it started outside already.
Doesn't it?
There's been sing-alongs in the line.
Yeah, they're fired up and ready to go. Luds is fired up because he learned something about technology. He's not going to share.
Don't share it.
No, we're not sharing. But he learned something today, and it has nothing to do with a VPN. Sam, you haven't been in the AAC for like 3 weeks. Let's talk about it right now. Stars pregame show.
Get ready, boys.
Well, some people's hands smell like maple syrup. Some people's don't. Sam is here. This is the DLS Dallas Stars podcast pregame show as we are back at the AAC. Craig Ludwig, Sam Nessler, I'm Owen. Over there is John, our producer Anderson, and no, Sam, don't turn around. He's not over there. He's behind you. Yep. See, that's the squirrel in him. That's Doug. Doug is the dog. Sam is the dog. Sam, 26 days since the Dallas Stars had a home game, which was February 2nd. They beat the Blue Jackets 5-3. For some, Thomas Harley, Jake Oettinger, Pete DeBoer, Jim Nill, Misha Donskov, they hadn't been home for 3 weeks until after the last road trip to New York, New Jersey, and Columbus. For others, like Mikael Granlund, Esa Lindell, Rope Hintz, they basically touched home base for an afternoon or two and then had to travel. This has been a long time between home games.
Yeah, it's felt like it. I honestly can't believe someone said the other day, and the fact that last home game was that Columbus game with the alumni game. And I was like, that is absolutely crazy because that felt like 3 months ago that we had Luds up on the bench and all the chaos that came with that. But I'll tell you this, they are excited to be here. You can feel the energy of the team. The guys are excited to be back in Dallas. They're excited to be back past that, right? It was an exciting tournament. It was a great break, but it's another distraction along the way. And this is now, this is it, right? We are coming down to it. We're almost hitting March here. Season ends in like a month and a half, basically. So we're getting close to the finish line.
Regular season ends. The season doesn't end.
Ends.
Those are important details, Lutz.
Important details.
The important season begins.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah, the regular season ends about a month and a half. So Pete talked about how they can finally see the finish line. You know, the deadline coming up in a week here is basically the last distraction before it's all about playoffs, and it's all about getting a good seed and hopefully making a run here in the spring. So they're excited. I really got to tell you, I expect this game to be fast-paced and intense tonight. Both teams, you could feel it in this morning, and these are two very important points for a couple of teams that are playing very well. And we know the Kings are going to finish their season at home. On the road is where they're a little bit more iffy. So we'll see how it goes tonight.
What do you think about the sort of crisscross vest choice that he's going with tonight? Deep sigh. That's perfect.
Looking good, Sam.
I love it.
Sam, I do have some news, though, for you. Last night, I was at a little place called the Rusty Beagle and ran into a couple diehards. Can you believe that?
No way.
Oh, yeah. Came up to me and told me they were diehards. And one's going to be a diehard.
Way.
Yeah. All because of you.
If there's any face we should see first that represents DLS, it's Craig Ludwig. That should be number one.
He's the most recognizable of our show.
That's not for a good.
Yeah,
that's true. But you also have been around in the public eye a little longer than we have. So
yeah, you know.
Yeah. Hey, John, if you have that Die Hard logo, the not the lower third, but the whole screen. In case you're wondering, this offer ends tonight. So if you are on the fence, or if you're thinking about being a diehard, today's a great day to sign up. Go to alldls.com right now and sign up. We have signed up, I think, a massive amount for the month of February. We're doing really, really well with that. We're excited to add more diehards to the group. Sean just wrote a really good article where he did a mailbag for the diehards by going to our diehards only Discord server to get the questions and then answer them. And that was really fun. So another perk.
One could say it's a good day to die hard.
Oh,
that would
yes.
be Die Hard 5.
I don't know.
I think it's the 5th one. Have you seen any of the Die Hard movies?
I think I may have seen at least 2 or 3 of them.
There you go. Probably haven't seen the
Excellent.
last one you mentioned.
Live Free or Die Hard is fantastic.
Yeah, that one's very good. Justin Long is awesome in that one. All right, Sam, let's talk about the lineup news. You got a lot of information this morning from Pete DeBoer, Leon Bischel on Oscar Beck, Colin Blackwell, Jake Oettinger. Hit us with all the details.
Yeah, let's take it one at a time here. So first of all, the most important, Leon Bischel, still progressing as expected. Pete called him day to day, which I guess you'd call it as an upgrade. He skated on his own in Frisco this morning, so earliest he could come back is Sunday, but it seems like all is well with him. No setbacks. Expect him to be back. If it's not Sunday, then very soon after that. So that's good news for Dallas, who is just doesn't have any more defensemen right now to go with. On the forward front, where they do have an extra, we'll see Colin Blackwell come out again tonight and Oscar Beck go back in the lineup. And I asked Pete specifically about how he processes this, because look, we've talked about it on the show. It's not that there's a bad player that needs to get scratched every night. They are essentially scratching someone who is an effective player on most nights. And Pete talked about how you two things, as he always says, you need to show and separate yourself. It's the player's responsibility to not put themselves in the conversation of, we need to scratch someone tonight. Who should we scratch? You need to get your name out of there. That's on them. But the second thing is the communication and the understanding, because that might not always be the case. You're not going to have someone who maybe separates themselves by a ton here. So Pete and his staff said they communicated a ton and make sure that players know you're not doing anything wrong. This isn't a punishment. We can't have Logan Stankoven sit out for 5 games. We can't have Oscar Beck sit out for 4 games. It has to be a rotation, and that's what they're doing. I've essentially had a new guy come out for the last, I think, 4 games here. So Pete specifically talked about Blackwell, who sat out before that New Jersey game, the previous one before, came in for that New Jersey game and was excellent. He said he had a great game, and he basically put himself in that position to – Pete couldn't scratch him on Sunday against Long Island, against the Islanders, and he was great in that game again. So it's just going to be a rotation of that way on the fourth forward line there. And Pete did say something that I thought was interesting. He said when it's 50-50 between players, size might be the determining factor. We might go with the bigger player, which I thought was interesting. You know, you never really know what the draw is and whether it's an opponent, but it's going to be a complete rotation for that fourth line, and I expect all 4 of them to play well when they're in the lineup, because they're basically playing for their next game lives when they do come in. So that's good news for them that all 4 of them are going to be going. Blackwell was out there late working on some skills with Jason Robertson for like 20 minutes after skate, which I thought was funny. But Jake Oettinger is going to get the start tonight. Jake's been really interesting. I was looking back at his stats today, and he's basically been one great, one not so great for the last 5 games here. He was great against the Islanders. He's not so great against Columbus, great against the Islanders. And then looking back, it's literally a 915, 929, somewhere like that. And then in the 800s the next game. So for Jake, I think it's about finding consistency here after the break. And it's obviously a challenge. We talked about all the stuff they went through. He had his wife fly to meet him because he ran out of clothes in Montreal. Pete DeBoer told us, I don't know if we even shared this yet, Pete DeBoer told us that he spent more on dry cleaning than his clothes were even worth, and he basically should have just bought new clothes instead of spent continuously dry cleaning all of his clothes. So it's been a chaotic couple of weeks here for this team, and there's a lot going into tonight's game, but I really expect this to be a really good game.
Sam, you went over and said hello to the LA Kings after their optional morning skate today, and I always encourage getting a perspective from the other side. What'd you learn?
Yeah, I loved it. I heard LA is very similar to Dallas and just like a top-notch organization, top to bottom. So it was really, I learned it right away. PR team comes right up to you. They help you out. Players and coaches and everyone's just really friendly. They're very, very professional over there. So it was really simple to get what you needed. But it's cool to see, Drew Doughty is a player that, I may not have a chance to interview in another scenario. So cool to kind of talk to him, ask him some questions. He did confirm he's playing tonight, which was kind of up in the air after his injury after the tournament. But he talked about, I asked him specifically, I said, Pete DeBoer always talks about wanting to be hard to play against, and that's their goal as a team. And he also talks about LA being hard to play against. So I asked Drew Doughty what makes Dallas hard to play against, and he was just all about compliments for this team. The first thing out of his mouth was, there are not enough good things I can say about this team. They're a really good hockey team. And specifically, the one thing that caught my attention was that he said the forwards, they play so hard no matter where they are in the lineup. It's not just the bottom six that's always in your face and on the forecheck and grinding. It's the top guys too. They play just as hard as if they were the fourth line. So cool to see the perspective of two teams who, let's be honest, guys, are pretty similar. The way they like to play, they're defense first. They have a few guys that have been around, and like I said, it's a very good matchup tonight, but it was fun to be around there. And of course, I got to see my Chatham, New Jersey friend, Alex Laferriere. It's actually the first time I've talked to him face to face. So good catching up with him, hearing about
friend.
Yeah, I got to meet him for the first time officially. And it was just cool to talk to him. Obviously, the Chatham stuff is awesome for me, hearing about his favorite, Taylor ham, egg, and cheese spots and stupid stuff like that. But also hearing his path and how he balanced playing at the high school that I went to versus getting to the USHL and playing in college. And so it was a really fun morning skate. A lot of good people around, and excited for this one.
Sam, off the top of your head, can you name all 5 Die Hard movies?
Oh, no way. No way. Die Hard with a Vengeance, Live Free, Die Hard, Die Another Day. I don't know the other one.
That's a James
Die
Bond
Hard,
movie.
Too Furious.
That was a
Very
James
good.
Bond movie.
You were on it.
Two Die Hard, Two Furious. Yeah, that's good. What's the other one?
Well, Sam, look it up. It's
All
Die
right.
Hard, Die Hard 2, Die Hard with a Vengeance, Live Free or Die Hard, and then it's A Good Day to Die Hard, which is what started all this with John.
It's literally just
Sick
Die Hard
reference,
2.
though.
Right?
Oh, thanks, bud. Dude, your references are out of control. Everyone knows that.
Fantastic. All right, go watch warm up. Make sure that we didn't have the wool pull over our eyes, and we'll talk to you in the post-game show.
All right, boys. See ya.
That's Sam Nestler over at American Airlines Center. Luds, to that last point where
Die Hard?
No, before that, about what Drew Doughty was saying about how hard the Dallas Stars were and how the top guys play is hard and everything. Pete DeBoer had a quote about leadership, and he said, when your captain is the smallest ego in the room, it's tough to not follow and get in line behind that. And he was referencing guys accepting roles.
Look where Jamie is. He went from top line a couple of years ago, and now he's on the third line. And I said that from the beginning. What Pete DeBoer did with Jamie is he found the minutes that he was going to allocate to other players and compensated him by putting him on the power play. And so he makes up the minutes. He stays around the same minutes, probably not as much of a workload. But basically, Jamie does whatever he's asked to do. And that's what should trickle through the lineup. And I just want to pick up on what Sam said about Pete talking to him about Blackwell and Beck and, those
Right.
4 or 5 guys. And again, with what Doughty said also, this is not a team. This is a team that's in the bottom 2 or 3 in the league when it comes to hits. So Doughty's not talking about the kind of team. LA can be a heavy team. That's why Beck is in the lineup. First off, that's my opinion. That's why he's in the lineup. Nothing against Blackwell, but there's a difference in size there.
Yeah.
So he should be able to win more battles on the wall. Not necessarily in front of the net or his net or the other net, but it's along the wall in your end, the other end, getting pucks out, getting pucks in. But the 50-50 puck battles, Beck should win more of those. But what Dallas does is they go everywhere with speed. That's what he means by in your face. Like there's somebody on you all the time, and that's why they do well at both ends of the rink, because they take time and space away. Yes, sometimes that they just they stick to people like glue, and they maybe should switch off at different times.
And drives you crazy.
And drives me crazy. And not for the regular season, only for playoff time. I don't want that one goal to come back and haunt you. But that's what Doughty's talking about, is when he goes back to get it. They've changed their system. They don't play the 1-3-1 anymore, where Doughty was the guy that would sit back there. so to speak, and
Boy, he used
be
to just
receiving. He'd be
smother
receiving the
games.
cup. Yeah, and now they play the 1-2-2. But so what's going to happen is when you chip pucks behind Doughty and Edmondson, guys like that, there's going to be somebody on. There's somebody on them all the time, and that's what he means by they're in your face. In other words, you don't have time. You better know what you're going to do with the puck before you get to it.
Up next, we're going to look at the lineups. We're going to talk about Logan Stankoven. We're going to get into some details about the LA Kings. But right now, we will do this on the DLS Dallas Stars pregame show.
Well, it didn't work.
Or we're just going to keep
We're
talking.
not going to do it right now.
No, we're going to do it. Well, we are.
straight
We'll do it
We're
right
just
now.
going to do it without the change of screens. Let's talk about Sleeper. The best fantasy league platform out there. Put your ball or puck knowledge to the test by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts for breaking news and major injuries. Stay ahead of the game and keep track of league updates in real time, so you're always informed and ready to outsmart your friends. If you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLSstars to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. Apply it to any contest, doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. And now we get to actually build our game picks, as you can see on the left-hand side. I'm not going to take credit for this because John has been money. So he's the one that made these picks. We, as a team, are going to benefit because of it. You do not want to pick against a hot hand, so let's start with Jason Robertson to record more than 0.5 goals. Jake Oettinger is likely to face a lot of shots with Dallas's defensive core depleted, so let's go with Otter for more than 23.5 saves. And you know what? Let's do it. Logan Stankoven gets the monkey off his back and records more than 0.5 goals. That's ambitious, but if it all hits, you'll earn more than 18 times your money. And I'm pulling for John in this one.
It
All
is
right.
an ambitious one, but
Why not? Why not go for it a little
I've
bit?
hit bigger. So.
You don't hit home runs if you don't swing for the fences sometimes. All right. Let's look at the lineup. Actually, you know what? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and, John, show the forwards because I don't think that they're going to change from the way we saw it in practice. If we do, Sam will give us a quick update. Luddy, the big talking point, we brought it up quickly yesterday, was about Logan Stankoven moving up to the top line. It also spreads out their centers a little bit, which we actually thought was something they do more on the road to make it more of a matchup problem because you've got Hintz, Duchesne, Johnston, Steele down the middle. But this is more about getting Logan Stankoven going, as you said yesterday. The question is, if this game is going well or not, how long does he stay with that line?
I think he stays with it as long as that line is doing what they're supposed to do, and Stankoven's doing what he's supposed to do, what he expects them to do, and what he expects them to do is be that ever ready bunny up and down the ice. Pucks are going in, and then he's going to be a nuisance in front of the goaltender at the other end of the rink. I mean, he's going to do what he does. He skates, he goes there, and he has to make sure that that puck ends up ultimately on Robertson or Hintz's stick. And then you go do the dirty work. I don't care how big you are, you can still get to the front. And sometimes it's actually an advantage because when you have big defensemen and you're quick enough, it's a little bit easier for you to be between the goaltender and the defenseman. And then once that happens, now all of a sudden it becomes a pain for the defenseman.
He gets healthy scratch for the first time in his NHL career. He comes back in the lineup against Columbus. They did not play well as a team. Pete was disappointed with their effort. He didn't think it was particularly good, even though it was the third game in 4 nights with some travel. But he did get an assist, Logan Stankoven, and that was the talking point, was he has to produce. Now, again, they lost the game, blah, 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 but he did get a point, so he's back up to tied for 4th in rookie scoring. But you know what I couldn't help but notice today, Luds, was Maverick Bork, 19 points, only 7 behind Stankoven, and another rookie in the top 20 in rookie scoring, Oscar Beck, has 13. Now, I don't think Beck is in risk of catching Stankoven, but Bork might the way he's been playing.
Well, and I think when Beck is in the lineup, he's a north-south kind of guy. He plays up and down. He plays on his wall. He goes to the front of the net. If he's scored goals, they're generally because he's getting there, and they're not pretty goals, but he's effective. He's effective in his lineup, and as I said earlier, there's a reason he's back in that lineup tonight, because when you've got guys, I mean, they've got some big guys. I mean, Jeannot and Moore, Kopitar is big, so they've got some big bodies on that team, and they play big along the walls, and so he's going to be expected to win some of them battles.
Take a look at the Stars' defensive pairings expected tonight. As Sam was saying, no changes because they don't have another healthy defenseman available at the moment in the NHL. They could obviously call someone up if they needed to, but with Bischel still in the concussion protocol, they're going with the same 6. What I thought was particularly interesting, Luds, and I didn't prep you on this, but I know you'll be able to talk very knowledgeably about this, is Pete DeBoer said he was a little concerned about Esa Lindell's minutes. So, and this was an answer to Matt Dumba going as the second power play unit. He said, look, Harley's going to be out there for 90 seconds or so. So we're talking about mop-up duty, but he felt if they could ease a few minutes off of the very hard minutes that Lindell's playing, that could benefit the Finnish defenseman.
Yeah, the power play is generally easy minutes. I mean, you get into the zone fairly easy, and then you just stand on top of the blue line and shoot the puck. And Esa keeps it simple when he's out there on that part. But again, like a team like tonight, he's going to be playing a little bit more in front of his own net. He's going to play a little bit more in the corners. But overall, yeah, I think if you can take Matt Dumba, if that's who it is, and he picks up the last 20, 25 seconds on the power play. The one thing about Dumba is he skates well, and if he's got a minute, he can get the shot off. He's got a good shot from the point, and I think that's probably what he would – I would think that they would be talking to him about. You get pucks to the point, it's not necessarily looking for the pretty play. You're out there with the second unit. We want to get pucks to the net. You've got a good shot, get it through, and let everybody else do their work. So, we talked about it after last game. Esa appeared to be a little bit tired, and so – I'm sure they've noticed it also. I mean, if we can notice it on TV, they're noticing it in person. And so this is one way to back him off a little bit when you've got the Thomas Harley that can. If Thomas Harley had to take all 2, he could take all 2 minutes. It would just depend on how many times that they're getting to the offensive blue line. You have to turn around and go back and get it.
Yeah, how many times does he have to do a sprint down the ice, or if he's in the zone for the whole time?
So, guys, we can keep it easy on our guy that's going to play most minutes on the power play until we get the other guy back. So let's just make sure we make the right decisions once we get through the neutral zone with the pucks.
Jake Oettinger in goal. Sam was talking about him having some up and down starts. I look back through it because Otter is 1-2-1 in his last 4. Okay, so let's go through it real quick because there's a point to this. The loss February 4th at Anaheim. He gave up 2 goals. Their offense was awful. Their team had no jump, and Anaheim gave him trouble. That's not on Jake Oettinger. So scratch that one off as far as do we question his performance there. Then he plays 3 days later.
The counter to that be Casey had the same kind of situations and won a couple games.
That's true. Okay.
No.
But I'm not going to stand up here and say that Anaheim game was on Jake Oettinger. No. Then you go to L.A. Gave up 4, but it got to overtime. Then they ended up losing in a shootout. It was an interesting game. I actually thought it was a pretty good hockey game as far as entertainment value goes. But there was a couple in that one that you didn't think were as good. Then he wins at the Islanders, 3 goals against. You said there was at least one where you were a little questioning on, but he got the win. And then Columbus, the team was just not good. And he wasn't great either. So there is a little bit of that roller coaster there. My point was, at least one of them, he was pretty darn good, and he didn't get a lot of help.
Yeah, you're saying one of the 4.
I know.
You just answered your own thing that you wanted me to say.
Yep.
So I was going along there going, okay, but.
Yep.
So where it's a concern for me, and again, Jake's a good goaltender, right? We know that. He's one of the best. But he's not playing at a Hellebuck level, okay? Not many people are. But you're always concerned that if you get 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4, 3 out of 5 games where there's that goal that goes in, that's when you get concerned. Not over the top, the sky is falling concern, but the one where you're going, okay, we're getting a little, there's becoming a pattern here. And so that's where they want to get Jake to where it's a clean game. He's done the ones that go in that are good quality scoring chances that somebody made a mistake or it's a great passing play or sometimes it's just a great shot. And you got to give the shooters credit sometimes. Get away from where you're giving up an iffy goal every other game or every other 3 games.
Let's take a look at the LA Kings lineup because they, for the second straight game, not for this one, sorry. They're actually going to go with 11-7 because, they did last time. But Kyle Burrows is out of the lineup, but Drew Doughty is back in. He did not play his last game. Now, Doughty missed the beginning of the season because of ankle surgery. We talked about it when they played in LA in the beginning of February. He was just getting back. He went and played at the Four Nations. He played with Thomas Harley. He looked good. He's played 8 games, but Luds, he missed the last game. They lost him at home to end their homestand against Vancouver. It was in overtime. It was Connor Garland scored the winner. But if you look at that forward group, or what'd you have there? There's forward group there, John. Notice where Kopitar is, because he's a phenomenal player, but he's been kind of struggling. 1 goal in his last 20 games, but so has Alex Turcotte. The top line was Turcotte, Kopitar, and Kuemper when the Stars were in LA at the beginning of the month. But in the last game against Vancouver, when things weren't going well, Jim Hiller, their head coach, put Fiala, Byfield, and Kuemper together, and they had some jumps. So that's how they're going to start tonight and go 11-7, which both of us have said plenty of times, not really ideal.
No, but you know what? Like it's Byfield. I mean, he's got like 11 shots over his last 5 games. I think it's 4 or 5 games. He's a big horse. He's going. They're going to get him more minutes. They know where they are in the standings, and I think one of the reasons the 11-7 is going to be, you know what? We knew Drew was back, but we don't need to play him 28, 29 minutes right now.
That's interesting.
And so if you can kind of give him the minutes that he needs to go from game to game, and let's get him same thing as Kopitar. If Kopitar doesn't have to play 20 minutes, 22 minutes, or whatever he's generally used to be playing, we got 20-some games to go. We're a playoff team. Let's make sure we can get these guys who aren't spring chickens anymore. Let's get them as rested and healthy as we possibly can, and they can possibly be as healthy as they can on game 1.
He's 37, Anze Kopitar.
Yeah.
He's still very, very effective.
And you're going to he's tap dancing into the Hall of Fame.
Right. My question to you is that the days in front of him are a lot shorter than the days behind him. So if you look at that lineup, if you look at the forward group they have right now, who is the heir apparent to Anze Kopitar with the Kings at the moment? Do they have one?
I don't see one there right now. For me, I don't see one. I mean,
are they hoping it's going to be Quentin Byfield?
Well, I would think that's got to be what they're looking at is Byfield. But to do what Kopitar does at both ends of the rink and be a Selke guy and finish with 100 points and all the other kind of stuff, you know, you're got to fill some pretty big shoes. So I think right now they would like Quentin Byfield to kind of progress at his own pace. And by giving him more minutes, they're already saying, just similar to what they've done with Bork and guys like that we're going to give you more minutes because we see you taking those steps. And with Byfield, as the big body that he is and the way that he skates, you know, he can leave Anze Kopitar in the dust. But there's a lot of things that Kopitar does on the other side of the puck that Byfield can learn from him.
Let's take a look at the defense now for the Kings, and they are obviously thrilled to have Doughty back in the lineup, but Doughty had been playing with Mikey Anderson, but Anderson and Gavrikov have been a pair lately, so they're going to have him start with Edmondson. Now, as you mentioned, it might be a rotation because of the 7D, as Brant Clark is supposed to be one of their guys of the future, but they've been kind of up and down on him this year.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how many minutes Spence has. You know, you get into the first period and there's only 2-3 minutes there, and Doughty's like, no, I'm good. I'm going to keep going because he's got a lot to say about it.
He never takes it easy.
Yeah.
That's not in his nature.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I mean, they're going to have these guys there. This is just more, I believe, for Doughty to be able to ease into things. And you know, he came back from the tournament, and I'm sure he was feeling it when he came back. And he didn't play anything until a couple games before he got into that thing. So, and with that pace, the way he wanted to play, and he got banged around a little bit.
Yeah,
Doughty did.
Yeah, so, he did, especially by Brady
Tkachuk.
And
I'm sure that everybody back in LA, they're kind of holding their breath because they need that guy in the lineup when it comes playoff time.
So you saw Darcy Kuemper is going to be the starting goalie. Kuemper has not played the Stars this year. David Rittich has had both of the games and 2 wins.
Yeah, I think they were kind of. We don't want to push that envelope too much
especially because they're on the road. And look, the Kings are a
guy.
much better team at home. They have the best home points percentage in the NHL. How about this? They have not been great on the road lately. They're 1-4-1 in their last 6. They just overall, not home versus road. They have not lost in regulation in the month of February. Now again, there's the 2-week break for Four Nations, but they're 5-0-2. Even though they did lose in overtime to Vancouver in their last game. So they have more points in 7 games in February than they had the entire month of January, partly because their last 10, they went 2-7-1 to finish the month of January. They, like many teams, started to feel the fatigue of that jam-packed month after the holidays, and there's you're sort of in that dog days, and everybody dealt with it, but it didn't go particularly well. But their February has gotten them into that third place spot in a pretty good place as far as now gearing up for playoffs.
When I look at this game tonight, I think this is going to be a tight game. I can see this swinging one goal, then it's tied up, and swing the other goal. And to me, it doesn't seem like, and if Jake is doing what Jake does, and they've got their guy, if he's on top of things, I don't see a lot of goals being scored in this game. I think it's going to be a tight game, and it's going to be won and lost on the walls and in front of each net.
When you see the Kings play, usually that's the case with the Stars, right? That they've had a way with them. But Dallas is a good home team. We talked about how the Kings haven't been as good on the road. I asked Sam at the top of the broadcast, it's been 3.5 weeks since they played a home game. Do you have to, at all, as coaching staff, be careful that guys don't get too amped up to play in front of a home crowd?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think but it could be a good thing too, and maybe, and LA knows how long it's been since they played here, so they'll be prepared for that. But no, I think it can be a good thing too, especially if something good happens in the first 5 minutes. You get through that 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, and then something nice, and you put one in the back of the net, or you're out shooting them 4-5 to 1 or 2, and then next thing you turn around and look, and the shots are 9-1 or 2, and then it's a snowball, and then you'll eventually crack them.
Well, we'll find out how the game goes. Luds and I will be here for the post-game show right after the game. Sam will be joining us from the AAC, and of course, John will have all of your favorite drops queued up for your super chats right here on DLS. Thanks for joining us for the pregame show.
I believe that they are going to crush these guys tonight.
We all silly like the mayor.